Salvatore Giunta was 22 years old, a specialist in the United States Army. His patrol walked into an ambush so close that Apache helicopters overhead could not provide fire support. In the next 3 minutes, alone and under fire from machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades, he would prevent the Taliban from capturing an American soldier. October 25, 2007, Korengal Valley, Afghanistan. The Korengal Valley runs north to south through Kunar province in eastern Afghanistan, 6 miles long, steep mountains on both sides, elevation ranges from 1,000 to 8,000 feet, dense forest in some areas, rocky ridgelines, visibility limited by terrain. The valley served as a key infiltration route for Taliban fighters and weapons moving from Pakistan into Afghanistan. American forces called it the Valley of Death. Between 2006 and 2009, more than 50 American soldiers died fighting in the Korengal. The Taliban knew every ridge, every trail, every position. They fought from prepared ambush sites. They knew when Americans left their outposts. They waited. Junta served with Company B, 2nd Battalion Airborne, 503 Infantry Regiment, 173rd Airborne Brigade Combat Team. His unit was based in Vicenza, Italy. They deployed to Afghanistan in May 2007. Junta was the rifle team leader for 1st Platoon. He led 4 soldiers. His equipment included an M4 carbine rifle, fragmentation grenades, and body armor with ceramic plates front and back. The 173rd Airborne had been conducting Operation Rock Avalanche for several days, multi-day patrol through Taliban-controlled areas. The mission was to expand American presence and disrupt enemy movement. 1st Platoon established an overwatch position on the Gadigal Spur of Honcho Hill, elevation 7,999 feet. From this position, they provided security for other platoons operating in the valley below. By October 25, the platoon had been on the ridgeline for more than 24 hours. They were returning to Korengal Outpost and Combat Outpost Vimoto. The walk would take approximately 2 hours. The patrol moved in single file along the ridge crest, spacing between soldiers 10 to 15 feet. The terrain was steep, rocky, loose shale made footing difficult. Holly trees provided limited concealment. The moon was full that night, bright enough to see without night vision equipment. The temperature was cool at elevation, clear skies. The patrol consisted of approximately 20 soldiers from 1st Platoon. Sergeant Joshua Brennan walked point, age 22, from Ontario, Oregon. He had trained with Junta in Italy. They traveled together, close friends. Brennan was athletic, smart, known for being reliable. Behind Brennan walked Specialist Franklin Eckroad, then Staff Sergeant Eric Gallardo, the squad leader. Junta followed several positions back with his team. They had traveled 50 to 100 meters from their overwatch position when the Taliban opened fire. 10 to 15 insurgents initiated an L-shaped ambush from approximately 10 meters away. The enemy had positioned themselves in a classic near-ambush formation. The main firing line was to the west. A secondary position was to the north. The ambush was designed to envelop the patrol from 2 sides simultaneously. This prevented the soldiers from taking effective cover and allowed the Taliban to achieve overlapping fields of fire. The insurgents were armed with AK-47 assault rifles, 10 rocket-propelled grenade launchers, and 3 to 4 PKM belt-fed machine guns. Rate of fire for the PKM was 700 rounds per minute. The volume of fire was described by survivors as more intense than anything they had experienced. The first burst hit Brennan and Eckroad. Both went down. Specialist Hugo Mendoza, the platoon medic, was hit in the femoral artery. Age 29, from Glendale, Arizona. Known for caring about others more than himself, he died within seconds. Apache helicopters circled overhead. The pilots could see the ambush. They could see the muzzle flashes. But the enemy was too close to American positions. Any fire from the Apaches risked hitting friendly forces. The soldiers on the ground were on their own. Gallardo tried to move forward to reach Brennan and Ekrode. Rocket-propelled grenade explosions forced him back. An AK-47 round struck his helmet. The impact knocked him backward. He was stunned, but not wounded. Giunta saw Gallardo fall. He thought his squad leader was hit. Without hesitation, Giunta stood up and sprinted forward through the incoming fire. Rounds impacted the ground around him. Tracer fire lit up the darkness. He reached Gallardo within seconds. Gallardo was conscious, not wounded. Giunta helped him to cover behind a small rise in the terrain. While pulling Gallardo to safety, an AK-47 round struck the ceramic plate on the front of Giunta's body armor. The plate stopped the bullet. Another round hit the SMAWD rocket launcher slung across his back. The weapon was destroyed. Giunta was unhurt. He had been in the army for 4 years. Enlisted in November 2003 at age 17. He worked at a Subway sandwich shop in Iowa when he saw a recruiting commercial and decided to join. Basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Airborne School. Then assignment to the 173rd Airborne in Italy. First deployment to Afghanistan was 2005 to 2006 in Zabul province. That deployment taught him what combat felt like. This was his second deployment, 7th month of a 15-month tour. Giunta recognized the ambush pattern immediately. Fire from 2 directions. L-shaped formation. Basic training taught the response to a near ambush. You advance on the enemy. Running away gets you killed. Advancing disrupts their plan. He ordered his team to throw fragmentation grenades toward the Taliban positions 15 meters to the west. Then advance. Private First Class Casey fired his M249 squad automatic weapon. Rate of fire 800 rounds per minute. Private First Class Clary fired his M203 grenade launcher. The grenades exploded among the Taliban positions. The volume of enemy fire decreased briefly. Giunta and his team moved forward. They reached Ekrode. He was wounded twice in one leg and had 2 additional wounds. He was trying to unjam his M249. Gallardo, who had recovered, began treating Ekrode's wounds. He applied pressure bandages and called for medical evacuation. Giunta left Ekrode with Gallardo and continued forward with Clary. They were looking for Brennan. Brennan should have been 10 to 15 meters ahead of Ekrode. Giunta expected to find him wounded but in position. They advanced through sustained machine gun fire. When they reached where Brennan should have been, he was gone. Giunta realized the Taliban were trying to capture him. He advanced over the exposed crest of the ridge. No cover. Open ground. 3 PKM machine guns firing at him from different positions. Muzzle flashes visible in the darkness. He kept moving forward. Running! The Taliban had a head start. Brennan was wounded and could not resist. They were dragging him away. Giunta crested a small hill and saw them. 2 Taliban fighters. They were carrying Brennan between them. Distance approximately 30 meters. The insurgents were moving toward their lines. In seconds, they would reach cover in the forest. Brennan would disappear. Giunta raised his M4 and fired. He aimed at the first insurgent. The man went down. The second insurgent dropped Brennan and turned to engage Giunta. Giunta fired again. The insurgent was hit and ran into the darkness. Giunta sprinted to Brennan. He grabbed his friend by the equipment vest and dragged him behind cover. Brennan was conscious but severely wounded. Multiple gunshot wounds to the chest and torso. Blood loss was significant. Giunta began providing first aid. He applied pressure to the wounds. He tried to stop the bleeding. He talked to Brennan, told him he would be okay. Told him someday they would be telling stories about this. The rest of the squad reached Giunta's position within 2 minutes. They established security. The volume of Taliban fire decreased. The insurgents began withdrawing toward the north. Medical evacuation was called. Apache helicopters and an AC-130 Spectre gunship engaged the retreating Taliban with devastating effect. The firefight had lasted approximately 3 minutes from first shot to last. A Black Hawk medical evacuation helicopter landed on the ridgeline. Brennan, Ekrode, and 2 other wounded soldiers were loaded aboard. Mendoza's body was recovered. The helicopter lifted off and flew to the combat support hospital in Asadabad. Brennan underwent surgery but died the next day from his wounds. October 26, 2007. The patrol resumed their march to the outpost. 2-hour walk through the darkness. Giunta carried Brennan's equipment in addition to his own. The survivors reached Korengal outpost without further contact. Post-action reports documented the ambush details. Eyewitness statements from 12 soldiers. Taliban radio intercepts confirmed the enemy had planned to ambush the patrol and capture American soldiers. One intercepted transmission stated that if the Americans were not leaving by helicopter, they were in trouble. The intercept occurred before the ambush. The Taliban had planned this carefully. The ambush site was later searched. Blood trails indicated multiple Taliban casualties. Recovered equipment included expended AK-47 casings, rocket-propelled grenade fragments, and PKM machine gun links. American forces estimated 10 to 15 enemy fighters participated in the ambush. 2 American soldiers killed, Sergeant Joshua Brennan and Specialist Hugo Mendoza. 4 soldiers wounded. Without Giunta's actions, the casualty count would have been significantly higher. His immediate response disrupted the Taliban plan. His advance under fire prevented the squad from being enveloped. His rescue of Brennan prevented a capture and likely execution. 2 days after the ambush, Giunta learned his chain of command would recommend him for the Medal of Honor. He did not want it. He believed he had done nothing special. Any soldier in his position would have done the same thing. He was uncomfortable with recognition when Brennan and Mendoza were dead. September 10, 2010. The White House announced that Specialist Salvatore Giunta would receive the Medal of Honor. He was the first living recipient since the Vietnam War. 39 years. He was promoted to Staff Sergeant before the ceremony. November 16, 2010. The White House. President Barack Obama presented the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant Salvatore Giunta. The ceremony was attended by Giunta's wife, Jennifer, his family, and surviving members of his squad. The parents of Joshua Brennan and Hugo Mendoza also attended. The citation stated that Giunta distinguished himself by gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life. While under heavy enemy fire, he immediately sprinted toward cover and engaged the enemy. Seeing that his squad leader had fallen, he exposed himself to withering enemy fire and raced toward his squad leader, helped him to cover, and administered medical aid. While administering first aid, enemy fire struck his body armor and his secondary weapon. He advanced forward on his own initiative. As he crested the top of a hill, he observed 2 insurgents carrying away an American soldier. He immediately engaged the enemy, killing one and wounding the other. Upon reaching the wounded soldier, he began to provide medical aid as his squad caught up and provided security. Giunta was born January 21, 1985 in Clinton, Iowa. Italian-American family. He grew up in Cedar Rapids and Hiawatha. His father, Stephen, was a medical equipment technician. His mother, Rosemary, was a preschool teacher. He attended John F. Kennedy High School in Cedar Rapids. He was a typical kid, liked to play golf and joke around. He did not initially plan to become a soldier. At age 17, working at Subway, he saw a recruiting commercial and decided to enlist. The Medal of Honor came with attention Giunta did not want. He repeatedly said he was not comfortable with the recognition. In every interview and public appearance, he insisted the medal belonged to all the soldiers who served with him. He said the men on his left and right deserved the recognition, not him. In 2017, at a ceremony in Vicenza, Italy, he gave his Medal of Honor to the 173rd Airborne Brigade. He stated he wanted it to remain with the brigade, with the men and women who earned it every day through their service. Giunta left the Army in June 2011. He moved to Colorado with his wife Jennifer. They have a daughter born October 6, 2011. He studied at Colorado State University. In 2012, he published an autobiography titled Living with Honor. He has spoken extensively about the experiences of soldiers and veterans. He consistently redirects attention away from himself and toward the broader sacrifice of military service members and their families. He remains uncomfortable discussing October 25, 2007. He has stated it was one of the worst days of his life. Each time he revisits it, the experience is difficult. He struggles with survivor's guilt. Why did he survive when Brennan and Mendoza died? Why did he receive recognition when they are gone? These questions have no answers that satisfy him. The Korengal Valley was abandoned by American forces in April 2010. General Stanley McChrystal made the decision to withdraw. After 5 years of sustained combat, 54 American soldiers killed and hundreds wounded, the valley was deemed not worth the cost. 5 days after the withdrawal, Taliban fighters released video from the abandoned American outposts. The citation describes Junta's actions as unwavering courage, selflessness, and decisive leadership. His fellow soldiers described it differently. Staff Sergeant Gallardo said Giunta simply wanted to save his buddy. Brennan would have done the same for him. What Giunta did stopped the fight. He stopped the Taliban from taking a soldier. The volume and proximity of fire made survival unlikely. Giunta advanced anyway. 3 minutes of combat. 2 soldiers killed. 4 wounded. 1 American soldier rescued from capture. The Medal of Honor measures sustained action under impossible circumstances. Junta's actions that night on a ridgeline in Afghanistan at nearly 8,000 feet elevation, under fire from 10 Taliban. Fighters at 10 meters distance prevented a tactical defeat from becoming a catastrophic loss. If these stories matter to you, subscribe to the channel. There are more than 3,500 Medal of Honor recipients. Everyone has a story like this.